Sir, look over there." One of the guards pointed toward the sand, but Chairman Kang had already seen her. He was a famous man. Everyone in Korea knew his face. He was 70 years old, but he still walked fast and stood tall. That evening, he wanted to walk on his private beach because he had been sitting all day in meetings. His guards walked far behind him, giving him space. Then he saw something on the sand near the river. It was a woman. She was lying still, not moving at all. Chairman Kang's heart jumped. He rushed toward her, his shoes sinking into the wet sand. When he got close, he saw she was a young black American woman, maybe 30 years old. Her clothes were wet. Her long hair, streaked with white, was spread across the sand like seaweed. Miss, can you hear me?" he said, kneeling beside her. She did not answer. He put his hand near her nose and mouth. He felt a small breath. She was alive, but barely. He lifted his hand high in the air and waved it. Far away, his other guards saw the signal and ran toward him as fast as they could. "Chairman Kang, what happened?" the first guard asked, out of breath. "She is alive, but just barely. Carry her to the car. Now, hurry." Two guards lifted her gently and carried her to the car. Chairman Kang sat beside her the whole way, watching her chest rise and fall slowly. He kept telling himself, "Please don't die. Please don't die." When they reached his big, beautiful mansion, the guards carried her inside and laid her down on a soft bed in one of the guest rooms. Chairman Kang did not waste 1 second. He picked up his phone and called the family doctor. "Come now. It is an emergency," he said. The doctor arrived quickly with his black bag. He checked her heartbeat, checked her breathing, and gave her medicine through a small tube in her arm. Chairman Kang stood by the door the whole time, watching quietly, his hands behind his back. After some time, the doctor stood up and wiped his hands. "She will be okay," the doctor said. "But sir, she is very lucky. If you had found her even 1 hour later, it would have been too late. She was very close to death." Chairman Kang let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Thank you, doctor. Please take good care of her." The doctor left, and the room became quiet. Chairman Kang pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. He looked at the woman's face. She looked tired but peaceful. He did not know her name. He did not know where she came from, but something in his heart told him she was important. He folded his hands and closed his eyes. "Please, let her wake up safely," he thought. Just then, the woman sneezed. Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked a few times, confused. The room was bright and beautiful, filled with soft lights and expensive furniture. She had never seen a room like this before. Then her eyes landed on the old man sitting beside her bed. Her mouth fell open. She knew this face. She had seen it many times on television. This was Chairman Kang, one of the richest men in the whole country. She used to watch the news about him and secretly wish she could be as strong and successful as he was. You are Chairman Kang," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Yes, that is me," he said with a gentle smile. "Please, do not be afraid. You are safe now. You are in my house." "Your house?" she said, looking around again, still shocked. "Yes, I found you lying by the river. You were not moving. I brought you here so the doctor could help you." He paused. "Do you remember what happened to you?" She thought hard, but her memory was blank. "No, I don't remember anything. I just remember being tired. So very tired." "It's okay. You don't have to remember right now. Just rest." She looked down at the soft blanket covering her, and tears filled her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for saving my life. I should go now. I don't want to be a bother to you." She tried to sit up, but Chairman Kang raised his hand gently. "Wait, where will you go?" She stopped. She did not answer right away. The truth was, she had nowhere to go. She had been living on the streets for a long time, with no home and no family nearby. "You can stay here," Chairman Kang said kindly. "This house is very big. There are many empty rooms. You can rest here as long as you need." Her eyes went wide. Really? You would let me stay here? Yes, it's the least I can do. She smiled for the first time, a small but real smile. Thank you so much, sir. I am Fatima. Fatima, that is a nice name, he said, nodding. Just then, the bedroom door opened. 3 young men walked in, all around the same age, tall and well-dressed. These were Chairman Kang's 3 sons, triplets. They looked surprised to see a stranger in the guest bed. The eldest triplet has brown hair wearing black suit. The second triplet have light brown hair with tattoo on his neck. And the last twin has black hair. Father, who is this? The first son asked, walking closer. This is Fatima. I found her by the river. She almost drowned, Chairman Kang explained. The 3 brothers stared at her. Then their eyes moved to her hair, long and dark, but with streaks of white running through it, like snow on a dark road. It was very unusual for someone so young. Why is your hair white? The first brother asked, tilting his head. I was born this way, Fatima answered quietly. The second brother laughed, not a kind laugh. Born this way? Are you sure it's not because you're cursed or something? That is enough, Chairman Kang said sharply. Be nice to our guest. The second brother rolled his eyes but said nothing more. Then the third brother stepped forward. Unlike his brothers, his face was calm and friendly. He reached out his hand toward her. Hi, I'm sorry about my brothers. What's your name? Fatima, she said, shaking his hand carefully. I'm Jisung, he replied with a small smile. But before things could feel warm and comfortable, the second brother spoke again, this time to his father. Father, are you sure this isn't one of those women pretending to be helpless just to get close to your money? You know how people are. Enough, Chairman Kang said firmly, standing up. Get out! All of you! Let her rest! The 3 brothers turned to leave. But before they walked out the door, they looked back at Fatima one more time. Get ready for us, the second brother said, his voice cold. Then they were gone. Fatima sat quietly on the bed, her hands folded in her lap. The warmth she had felt from Chairman Kang's kindness slowly faded, replaced by a heavy feeling in her chest. She looked at the closed door and swallowed hard. She knew, deep down, that her stay in this beautiful mansion was not going to be easy, not with those 3 brothers around. Miss Fatima, what are you doing up so early? The maid's voice was soft but surprised. It was early morning, and Fatima had already gotten up, put on simple clothes, and joined the houseworkers in the kitchen. She was sweeping the floor when Chairman Kang walked in and saw her. Fatima, what are you doing? He asked, stopping in the doorway. She looked up, still holding the broom. Good morning, sir. I'm just helping clean up. It's the least I can do since you saved my life. Chairman Kang shook his head and walked closer. No, put that down. You don't need to do this. But sir, she said, I don't have any money to pay you back. This is all I can offer. Let me work for my stay. Fatima, he said gently, taking the broom from her hands. I already pay people to do this work. That is their job. Your job right now is to rest and get better. Please, go sit down, relax. She wanted to argue, but the kindness in his eyes stopped her. Thank you, sir, she said quietly, and put the broom away. She walked to the living room and sat on the big soft couch. She turned on the television and watched a movie, though her mind kept wandering. She still could not believe she was living in a mansion like this, after so many nights sleeping outside with nothing. After some time, she heard loud voices and laughter coming from outside. The front door swung open, and the 2 older brothers walked in, each one with a girl clinging to his arm. They were laughing loudly, clearly enjoying themselves. The moment the first brother saw Fatima sitting on the couch, his face changed. Hey! Stand up, he said sharply. Don't just sit there. Go get some drinks for our guests. Yes, hurry up, the second brother added, waving his hand at her like she was a servant. Fatima stood up quickly, her heart beating with embarrassment in front of the strangers. Okay, I'll get it right away, she said, and rushed to the kitchen. She came back a few minutes later, carrying a tray with drinks for everyone. As she leaned down to serve the girls, one of them looked at Fatima's hair and giggled. "Wow, what's with the white hair? Did you dye it like that on purpose? It's kind of strange," the girl said, whispering to her friend, but loud enough for Fatima to hear. The other girl laughed too. "Maybe it's a wig." The first brother smirked and leaned back on the couch. "Don't mind her. I heard she's cursed or something." "That's probably why her hair looks like that." All of them laughed, the two brothers and their girlfriends, except for the third brother, Jisung. He sat quietly in the corner, not laughing at all. His eyes moved toward Fatima, watching her face fall as she stood there holding the empty tray, feeling small and hurt. Jisung did not say anything at that moment. He didn't want his brothers to notice how he felt. But deep inside, something had already started to grow in his heart. A soft, warm feeling every time he looked at Fatima. He liked how calm she was, how she never fought back, even when people were unkind to her. He was falling for her, slowly, without even trying. And though Fatima did not want to admit it, she felt the same way. Whenever Jisung was near, her heart beat a little faster. He was so different from his brothers, gentle, quiet, and kind. But she quickly pushed the feeling away each time it came. "He is rich. I am nothing. I am not good enough for someone like him," she told herself. After a while, the two older brothers stood up, each pulling their girlfriend toward the stairs. "We're going upstairs," the first brother said, winking at his girlfriend. "Don't disturb us." They disappeared up the stairs, laughing all the way, leaving Jisung alone in the living room with the girl his brothers had forced him to bring along. She sat close to him, but he looked uncomfortable, shifting away slightly. He said to her, "I think you should go home now." The girl blinked, confused. "Go home? But your brothers said." "I know what they said," Jisung interrupted gently. "But I'm tired. I'll call a car for you." He reached into his pocket, gave her some money for her ride home, and walked her to the door. She left, a little annoyed, but she went anyway. Jisung sat back down on the chair, sighing. He hadn't wanted a girlfriend that night. His brothers had forced him, telling him things like, "Stop being such a baby, Jisung. Bring a girl. Have some fun for once." But none of that interested him. His mind kept going back to one person only, Fatima. A few minutes later, Fatima walked back into the living room to clean up the empty glasses left on the table. She didn't know Jisung was still sitting there. As she reached for the last glass, her foot caught on a small chain hanging from the side table. "Oh!" she gasped as she lost her balance. She fell forward, straight toward the chair where Jisung was sitting. He quickly reached out and caught her before she could hit the floor, pulling her gently against him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Fatima's hands were pressed against his chest, and his arms were wrapped around her waist, holding her steady. They looked into each other's eyes, and the whole room seemed to go silent. Jisung's heart was pounding. He looked at her lips, then back at her eyes. Slowly, without even thinking, their faces began to move closer together. Fatima's breath caught in her throat. She could feel his warmth, and for one small moment, she forgot to be afraid. Their lips were almost touching when, ahem, a loud cough echoed through the room. They both froze. Fatima's eyes went wide with shock, and Jisung's whole body went stiff. They quickly pushed apart from each other, stumbling backward. Standing in the doorway was Chairman Kang, his arms crossed, watching them with a raised eyebrow. Father, Jisung said, his face turning red. He straightened his shirt and stood up straight, trying to act normal. Sir, I'm so sorry. I tripped and... Fatima stammered, quickly grabbing the tray of glasses and holding it tightly in front of her, trying to hide how nervous she felt. Chairman Kang said nothing at first. He simply looked between the two of them, his face unreadable. The room was so quiet, you could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Both Fatima and Jisung stood there, hearts racing, waiting to see what he would say next. It's really beautiful out here, isn't it? Fatima turned around, surprised to see Jisung standing behind her, holding 2 glasses of cold juice. She had walked outside that afternoon to get some fresh air, wandering through the garden and admiring the tall trees, the flowers, and the small pond near the back of the mansion. She had never seen a place so peaceful and clean. "Yes, it is," she said, smiling softly. "I've never seen a garden like this before." Jisung walked closer and held out one of the glasses to her. "Here, thought you might be thirsty." "Thank you," she said, taking the glass gently. Their fingers brushed for a second, and both of them looked away, a little shy. They stood there quietly for a moment, looking at the pond. Then Jisung spoke again. "Can I ask you something? How did you end up, on the streets, by the river?" Fatima's smile faded a little. She looked down at her glass, turning it slowly in her hands. "My parents died a few years ago," she said quietly. "After that, everything fell apart. I couldn't pay rent anymore. My landlord got angry and threw me out of the house. He even took the small things my parents left behind, furniture, jewelry, whatever little we had, just to cover the money I owed him." Jisung's face grew sad. "I'm so sorry, Fatima." "After that, I had nowhere to go," she continued. "I slept on the streets, in parks, under bridges. It was hard, really hard. I got tired of it, tired of everything." Her voice grew softer. "One night, I walked to the beach and just kept walking into the water. I didn't want to fight anymore." Jisung's eyes widened, and he stepped closer to her. "Fatima, the water pushed me back out," she said. "I don't remember much after that. I guess that's when your father found me." Jisung reached out and gently touched her arm. "I'm so glad he found you. I'm so glad you're still here." Fatima looked up at him, tears filling her eyes. "Everything will be fine now," he said softly. "I promise." She wiped her eyes and gave a small smile. "Thank you, Jisung." He smiled back, then his eyes lit up like he remembered something. "Hey, come with me. I want to show you something." She followed him curiously through the garden and into the mansion, up the stairs, and into his room. It was neat and simple, nothing like she expected from someone so wealthy. He walked to a drawer, opened it, and pulled out a small box. "Here," he said, opening it, and placing a tiny gold bracelet in her hands. "I want you to have this." Fatima gasped, staring at the delicate bracelet shining in her palm. "Jisung, I can't accept this. It's too much. Please," he said, "I want you to have it." Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were happy tears. No one had ever given her a gift like this before, not since her parents passed away. She looked up at him and, without thinking, threw her arms around him in a tight hug. "Thank you," she whispered. "No one has ever done something like this for me." Jisung wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. Slowly, they pulled back, just enough to look into each other's eyes. Neither of them moved. The room felt warm and quiet, and the only thing that mattered in that moment was each other. Their faces moved closer, and this time, no one interrupted them. Their lips met in a soft kiss. What happened next, they kept just between themselves. Later, as they lay quietly together, Jisung turned to look at her, a curious expression on his face. "Fatima," he said gently, "can I ask you something?" "What is it?" You were a virgin," he said softly, surprised. "How come? I mean, you're beautiful." I'm surprised no one else ever." Fatima let out a small, sad laugh and looked away. "Most men stay away from me because of my hair," she said quietly. "They think it's strange, or that it means something bad about me. Some of them even called me cursed, just like your brothers do. So, no one ever really got close enough." Jisung's heart ached hearing this. He reached over and gently touched a strand of her white hair, twirling it softly between his fingers. "Your hair is beautiful," he said, "and so are you. Don't ever let anyone tell you different." Fatima smiled, feeling warmth in her chest that she hadn't felt in a very long time. "Fatima, are you all right? You don't look well." The old cook's voice was full of worry as she watched Fatima holding her stomach, her face pale and tired. It had been a few months since Fatima came to live in the mansion, and lately She had been feeling weak. She got tired easily, felt dizzy in the mornings, and sometimes couldn't even finish her meals without feeling sick. "I'm fine, Auntie," Fatima said, trying to smile, but her voice was weak. "Just a little tired, that's all." The old cook shook her head, not believing her. She had worked in this house for many years and had seen many things. Something about Fatima's condition worried her. "You need to see a doctor," the old cook said firmly. "This is not normal. You've been feeling sick for weeks now." Fatima sighed and looked down at her hands. "I don't have any money for a doctor, Auntie. I can't afford it." The old cook placed a gentle hand on Fatima's shoulder. "Don't worry about that. Let me handle it. Just rest for now." Later that day, the old cook went to find Chairman Kang. She found him sitting in his study, reading some papers. "Sir, may I speak with you?" she asked, bowing slightly. "Of course. What is it?" "It's about Fatima, sir. She has not been well. She's been tired, weak, and sometimes she can't even eat. I think she needs to see the doctor." Chairman Kang's face grew concerned immediately. He put down his papers. "Why didn't she tell me?" "She didn't want to bother you, sir, and she said she has no money." "Money is not a problem," Chairman Kang said, standing up. "I will call the doctor right away." Within the hour, the family doctor arrived at the mansion once again. He was led to Fatima's room, where she lay resting on the bed, looking pale and worried. Chairman Kang waited outside the door with the old cook while the doctor examined her. After some time, the doctor stepped out of the room, a small smile on his face. Chairman Kang looked at him, waiting for the news. "She's going to be fine," the doctor said. "In fact, she's not sick at all." "Then what is wrong with her?" the old cook asked, confused. "She's pregnant," the doctor said simply. "About 2 months along, I believe." Chairman Kang's eyebrows rose in surprise, but he said nothing. He simply nodded slowly, deep in thought, and walked away quietly without another word. The old cook, however, rushed into the room where Fatima was sitting up on the bed, her hands pressed against her stomach, her eyes wide with shock. "Fatima," the old cook said gently, sitting beside her. "Is it true? Are you really pregnant?" Fatima's eyes filled with tears. She nodded slowly. "Yes," she whispered. "It's true." "Who is the father?" the old cook asked softly, though a small part of her already had a guess. Fatima looked away, too scared to answer. Her heart was pounding. She didn't know what to do or who to tell. She got up quickly, even though she still felt weak, and hurried out of the room. She found Jisung outside near the garden, sitting alone on a bench. Her heart raced as she walked toward him. "Jisung," she said, her voice shaking. "I need to tell you something." He looked up, noticing how nervous she seemed. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" She sat down beside him, took a deep breath, and said the words that had been terrifying her all day. "I'm pregnant." Jisung's whole body froze. His eyes went wide, and for a moment, he didn't say anything at all. Fatima's heart sank, thinking the worst. "Jisung, please say something," she said, tears forming in her eyes. Finally, he spoke. "A baby," he whispered, almost like he couldn't believe it. "We're going to have a baby." He didn't look angry. He didn't look like he wanted to run away, but he also didn't look completely happy either. His face showed a mix of fear and worry. "I'm not rejecting this," he said quickly, taking her hand. "I promise you that." But what?" Fatima asked, her voice trembling. "Please, don't tell anyone yet," he said. "Not my brothers, not my father, not anyone. I need time to figure things out. My brothers will make everything difficult if they find out now." Fatima pulled her hand away slowly, her chest tightening with hurt. "So you want me to hide this? Hide our baby?" "It's not like that," Jisung said quickly. "I just need time, Fatima. Please understand." Fatima looked at him for a long moment, her eyes filled with disappointment. She had been so scared to tell him, but a small part of her had hoped he would stand beside her proudly, without fear. Instead, all she heard was that he wanted to keep it a secret, just like their relationship had always been. hidden, quiet, something to be ashamed of. "Okay," she finally said, though her voice was flat and sad. "I won't tell anyone." She stood up slowly and walked away, leaving Jisung sitting alone on the bench. As she walked back toward the mansion, she wrapped her arms around herself, feeling more alone than ever. He hadn't rejected her, he hadn't rejected the baby, but he wanted her to hide, to stay in the shadows, just like he always did when his brothers were around. And that hurt her more than she expected. "Fatima, I need to speak with you. Please come to my study." The message came from one of the house workers, and Fatima's stomach twisted with worry the moment she heard it. Chairman Kang wanted to see her. Did he already know about the baby? Had someone told him? She walked slowly to his study, her hands shaking slightly as she knocked on the door. "Come in," his deep voice called out. She stepped inside and found Chairman Kang sitting behind his big wooden desk, his hands folded, his face calm but serious. He motioned for her to sit down in the chair across from him. "Fatima," he said, looking straight at her, "I know you are pregnant." Fatima's heart dropped. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "I want you to tell me the truth," he continued gently but firmly. "Who is responsible for this pregnancy?" Fatima looked down at her hands, her mind racing. Jisung had asked her to keep it a secret, but this was his father. She couldn't lie to him. She sat there for a long moment, thinking hard, unsure of what to do. "Fatima," Chairman Kang said softly, "you can trust me. I only want to know the truth." She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Finally, she looked up at him. "It's Jisung," she said quietly, "your youngest son." For a moment, the room was completely silent. Fatima braced herself, waiting for him to be angry, to shout at her, to throw her out of the house like she feared. But instead, something unexpected happened. Chairman Kang's face broke into a huge smile, and he let out a loud shout of joy. "Yes, finally," he said, standing up from his chair, his hands raised in the air like he had won something important. Fatima blinked at him, confused. "Sir, do you know how long I have been waiting for this?" Chairman Kang said, walking around his desk, still smiling widely. "My sons have been living carelessly for years, going out every night, bringing different girls home, never settling down, never thinking about family. I have prayed for the day one of them would find someone real, someone sincere." He looked at Fatima with warm eyes. "And now, here you are." Fatima still felt nervous, unsure if this was really happening. "So, you're not angry?" "Angry?" Chairman Kang laughed. "Fatima, this is wonderful news. A grandchild. I am going to be a grandfather." He walked closer and gently held her hands. "Please, Fatima, I am begging you, keep this baby. Do not be afraid. I will take care of you and the child. You will not have to worry about anything. Not money, not a place to stay. Nothing." Tears filled Fatima's eyes, but this time they were tears of relief and happiness. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. "And don't worry about Jisung," Chairman Kang added. "I will speak with him myself. I will make sure he does the right thing. I will begin preparing for you two to get married." Fatima's cheeks turned warm, and she smiled shyly, looking down at her lap. "Married?" she repeated softly, hardly believing her own ears. "Yes, married," Chairman Kang said, chuckling. "A proper family. That is what I want for my son, and for you, and for this baby." Fatima laughed a little through her tears, feeling a happiness she hadn't felt in a very long time. For the first time since she arrived at this mansion, she felt like she truly belonged somewhere. Chairman Kang sat back down, but his excitement didn't fade. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk, his eyes shining like a child who had just been given a wonderful gift. "Now," he said, "let's think of names. If it's a boy, what about Minho? Or Daehan? Strong names, good names." Fatima giggled. "You're already choosing names, sir." "Of course," he said, laughing. "This is my first grandchild. I must be ready. And oh, I will need to buy him things. A crib, the best one money can buy. Tiny shoes, toys. I saw a rocking horse in a shop window last year. Beautiful wooden one. I will buy that too. Fatima laughed harder now, shaking her head at how excited the old man had become in just a few minutes. It was hard to believe this was the same powerful, serious billionaire the whole country watched on television. You're going to spoil him before he's even born, she said, still smiling. Of course I will, Chairman Kang said proudly. That is what grandfathers do. They sat there together, laughing, the tension and fear completely gone from the room. For the first time in a long while, Fatima felt safe, truly safe, like she had found a family who wanted her, even if things with Jisung were still complicated. Chairman Kang wiped a happy tear from his eye and smiled at her warmly. Thank you, Fatima, he said softly. Thank you for giving this old man something to look forward to. What happened? Why is everyone running around like this? Fatima woke up early the next morning, still smiling from her conversation with Chairman Kang the night before. But as soon as she stepped out of her room, she heard loud voices and quick footsteps coming from the parlor. Something felt wrong. She hurried down the hallway and saw several houseworkers standing together, talking in worried voices. What's going on? Fatima asked one of the maids. The maid turned to her, her face full of fear. It's Chairman Kang. He collapsed this morning while taking his walk. The guards found him on the ground. They've already called the family doctor. He's with him now. Fatima's heart stopped for a moment. Where is he? In his room, upstairs. Fatima didn't wait to hear anything else. She lifted the bottom of her dress and ran as fast as she could up the stairs, her heart pounding louder with every step. When she reached his bedroom door, she pushed it open. Inside, Chairman Kang lay on his bed, looking pale and weak. The doctor stood beside him, checking his heartbeat with a stethoscope. Fatima's hands flew to her mouth as she saw how tired and fragile he looked, so different from the strong, joyful man she had spoken to the night before. Fatima, Chairman Kang whispered, turning his head slightly toward her. She rushed to his side and gently took his hand in hers. I'm here, sir. I'm here. Please, don't worry. Everything will be okay. He gave her a weak smile, though his breathing was slow and shaky. He turned to one of the workers standing nearby. Please, call my son. Call Jisung. The worker nodded quickly and ran off to find him. A few minutes later, Jisung burst into the room, out of breath, his face full of worry. Father! He rushed to the bed, and when he saw Fatima already holding his father's hand, he walked to the other side of the bed and took his father's other hand. Father, what happened? Are you okay? Jisung asked, his voice shaking. Chairman Kang looked between his son and Fatima, his eyes soft. Jisung, he said slowly, I already know. I know about the baby. Jisung's eyes widened, and he glanced quickly at Fatima, who looked down, not sure what to say. I am not angry, Chairman Kang continued, his voice weak but steady. I want you to take care of Fatima and your child. I want you to marry her. Promise me. Jisung looked at his father, then turned to look at Fatima. Slowly, he reached over and took her hand gently in his. Father, he said, his voice full of emotion. I love Fatima. I truly do. I will do everything you ask. I will take care of her and our baby. Always. Chairman Kang smiled weakly, satisfaction filling his tired eyes. Good, he whispered. That is good. Just then, Jisung's phone rang loudly in his pocket. He looked at the screen and sighed. I'm sorry, father. I have to take this. It's important. I'll be right back. He gave his father's hand a gentle squeeze, glanced at Fatima with a small, reassuring nod, and stepped out of the room to answer the call. Once the door closed, Chairman Kang turned his head slowly toward Fatima. His face grew serious. Fatima, he said quietly, come closer. She leaned in, holding his hand tightly. I don't think I will make it through this, he whispered. Don't say that, Fatima said quickly, tears already filling her eyes. Listen to me, he said gently. I need to tell you something important, something only between us. He then began to speak softly, telling her his private wishes, what he wanted her to do, how he wanted her to protect what mattered most to him, and how he trusted her more than anyone else in this house. Fatima listened carefully, nodding, holding back her tears as best she could. When he finished, Fatima could no longer hold back her emotions. She leaned forward and hugged him gently, careful not to hurt him, her tears falling freely now. "You are the only one who has ever truly cared about me," she whispered into his shoulder. "Since my parents died, no one has shown me kindness like you have." Chairman Kang patted her back weakly, his own eyes glistening with tears. "You are like a daughter to me, Fatima," he said softly. She pulled back slightly, wiping her eyes, and looked at him with hope. "Is there really nothing the doctors can do? Nothing at all?" Chairman Kang gave her a small, gentle smile, the kind of smile someone gives when they have already made peace with something hard. "The doctors have tried their best, Fatima," he said softly. "But I am old already, my body is tired. Some things simply cannot be fixed, no matter how much money or how many doctors you have." Fatima's tears fell harder, and she held his hand tightly, not wanting to let go, wishing with all her heart that things could be different. Fatima walked out of Chairman Kang's room, her heart heavy with sadness. Tears still ran down her cheeks as she made her way slowly back to her own room. She sat on her bed, wrapping her arms around herself, praying silently that the old man would somehow get better. As she walked past the hallway near the parlor a little later, she heard voices, the elder and second brothers, talking quietly, but not quietly enough. "Honestly, I hope he just dies already," the elder brother said, his voice cold. "Then everything will finally be ours. No more rules. No more him controlling how we live our lives." "Exactly," the second brother agreed, laughing lightly. "We can finally do whatever we want, spend the money however we like." Fatima froze where she stood, shocked at the cruelty in their words. Before she could move away, she heard fast footsteps rushing down the hallway. "Sir, sir!" one of the house workers shouted, running toward them, breathless. "Chairman Kang, he's gone. He passed away just now." Fatima's whole body went cold. Her heart dropped, and without thinking, she ran as fast as she could toward his room. But by the time she got there, she saw people already carrying him away, covered gently in a white cloth. "No," she whispered, tears pouring down her face. "No, please, no." Within just 10 minutes, the news had spread through the entire neighborhood. People began arriving at the mansion gates, wanting to pay their respects and offer condolences to the family. But the elder and second brothers stood at the front door, blocking everyone from entering. "We don't want visitors right now," the elder brother said sharply. "This is not our father's house anymore, where he invites whoever he wants. Everyone, please leave." The visitors looked at each other, confused and a little hurt, but they respected the brothers' wishes and slowly turned back, walking away from the gates. A while later, Jisung arrived home. He had already heard the terrible news on his way back, and by the time he stepped out of his car, tears were streaming down his face. He was sobbing loudly, his hands shaking as he walked through the front doors. In his grief, he tore at his own shirt, ripping the fabric near the collar. He walked straight to the small bar inside the house, grabbed a full bottle of alcohol, and drank it down, barely stopping to breathe. His body swayed as the alcohol hit him hard, and soon he could barely stand straight. Fatima found him like that, stumbling near the bar, his eyes red and unfocused. Her own heart was breaking too, but she pushed her pain aside and walked over to him. "Jisung," she said softly, wrapping his arm around her shoulder. "Come on, let's get you to bed." He mumbled something she couldn't understand, tears still falling down his face, as she slowly guided him up the stairs to his room. She helped him lie down and sat beside him until he finally fell asleep, exhausted from crying and the alcohol. The days that followed were hard for everyone in the house. A grand funeral was held for Chairman Kang, with many important people from all over the country coming to pay their respects. Fatima stood quietly in the back during the ceremony, her hand resting gently on her growing belly, watching as they laid the man who had saved her life to rest. Months passed after the burial. Fatima's pregnancy had grown, and she was now 7 months along. Her belly was round and full, and she often placed her hands on it, feeling the small kicks of the baby inside her, wishing Chairman Kang could have lived to see his grandchild. One afternoon, the 3 brothers gathered in the large sitting room. They had called their father's lawyer to come and read the will, the official document explaining what Chairman Kang wanted to happen with his fortune and properties now that he was gone. The lawyer walked into the mansion, carrying a leather briefcase, his face calm and serious. He greeted the 3 brothers politely and took a seat at the head of the table, preparing to open the documents inside his briefcase. From a distance, near the doorway, Fatima stood quietly, watching everything unfold. Her heart beat nervously in her chest. She remembered the private conversation she'd had with Chairman Kang before he passed, the secret wishes he had shared only with her. She wondered if today, finally, some of those secrets would come out. The 3 brothers sat around the table, waiting eagerly, unaware of just how much this reading was about to change all of their lives. "All right, let us begin," the lawyer said, opening his briefcase and pulling out a thick folder of papers. He adjusted his glasses and looked around at the 3 brothers sitting quietly at the table. The elder brother leaned forward, rubbing his hands together. "Finally, let's hear it. How much is each of us getting?" The lawyer cleared his throat and began flipping through the papers slowly. His face grew a little tense as he read the words silently to himself first before speaking. "I'm afraid I have some unexpected news," the lawyer said carefully. "What do you mean, unexpected?" the second brother asked, frowning. The lawyer took a deep breath. "According to this will, Chairman Kang has left his entire fortune, the mansion, the businesses, the money, everything, to a children's orphanage." The room went completely silent for a moment. Then the elder brother shot up from his chair, so fast it fell backward with a loud crash. "What did you just say?" he shouted, his face turning red with anger. "An orphanage? That's impossible." "That can't be right." "Sir, please calm down," the lawyer said, holding up his hands. "This is what the document says." "No!" the elder brother yelled, slamming his fist on the table. "You're lying! Read it again! Read it properly!" "I have read it correctly, sir," the lawyer said, though his voice shook slightly with nervousness. The elder brother stormed around the table toward the lawyer, his hands balled into fists. "You think this is a joke? Our father built this empire for us, for his own sons, not strangers, not some orphanage." The second brother also stood up, his face pale with shock and anger. "This has to be a mistake. Maybe the papers are fake. Maybe someone changed them." "I assure you, gentlemen," the lawyer said, backing away slightly as the elder brother got closer. "I only read what is written here. I did not create this will. Your father wrote it himself, with his own signature, in front of witnesses." "I don't care," the elder brother shouted, grabbing the edge of the table. "Fix it. Change it. You're the lawyer, aren't you? Do something." "Sir, I cannot change a legal document," the lawyer said firmly, though he was clearly frightened by how angry the brother had become. "This is your father's final wish. I am simply here to deliver the message." The elder brother's chest heaved with anger. For a moment, it looked like he might actually grab the lawyer by the collar, but the lawyer quickly gathered his papers, closed his briefcase, and stepped back toward the door. "I understand this is difficult news," the lawyer said, trying to stay calm, "but shouting at me will not change what is written. I suggest you take some time to think clearly. Good day." With that, he turned and walked quickly out of the mansion, not wanting to stay a second longer in that tense room. The elder brother kicked the fallen chair across the floor, cursing loudly. "This is insane. Absolutely insane." The second brother sat back down, holding his head in his hands, still trying to process what he had just heard. Everything gone, just like that. Meanwhile, Jisung, the youngest brother, had been sitting quietly through it all, saying nothing. His face was pale, and his eyes stared blankly at the table in front of him. He didn't argue. He didn't shout. He simply sat there, absorbing the shock in silence. Without a word, he slowly stood up from his chair and walked out of the room. He didn't look at his brothers, didn't respond when the elder brother called after him. He walked straight through the hallway and up the stairs, disappearing into his room and closing the door quietly behind him. Inside his room, Ji-sung sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. His mind was spinning with confusion. He thought about his father's final words to him, the promise he had made to take care of Fatima and their unborn child. He thought about the mansion, the businesses, everything he had grown up around, now suddenly gone, given away to strangers he had never even met. But strangely, as he sat there thinking, he didn't feel as angry as his brothers did. Instead, he felt something else, a strange kind of peace, mixed with sadness. He remembered how his father used to speak about kindness, about helping others, about not letting money control a person's heart. Maybe, somehow, this was his father's way of teaching them one final lesson. Still, so many questions filled his mind. Why would his father give everything away? Was there something more to this will that they didn't know yet? And what did this mean for Fatima and the baby she was carrying? He sighed deeply, running his hands through his hair, unsure of what the future now held for any of them. "Wait! Don't leave yet!" the elder brother shouted, grabbing the lawyer's arm before he could reach the door. The lawyer turned around, startled. "Sir, please let go of me." "Not until you prove this is real," the elder brother said, his eyes wild with anger. "Show me something, anything. I refuse to believe my father would just give everything away like this." The lawyer sighed and set his briefcase back down on the table. "All right, since you refuse to believe the papers, let me show you something else." He opened his briefcase again and pulled out a small tablet. He tapped on the screen a few times, and a video began to play. The brothers gathered around, their eyes fixed on the screen. Chairman Kang's face appeared, looking tired but calm, clearly recorded not long before he passed away. "My sons," his voice said from the video, "if you are watching this, then I am no longer with you. I know this will be hard for you to accept, but I have made my decision, and it is final. I have given my properties and my fortune to the orphanage. I have watched all of you grow up with everything handed to you, and yet, you have not learned kindness, responsibility, or gratitude. I love you, but I cannot leave my life's work in hands that are not ready for it. Please, forgive me. Perhaps this will help you find your own way in life." The video ended, and the room fell into heavy silence. The elder brother's hands dropped to his sides, his face frozen in disbelief. The second brother sat down slowly, shaking his head, still unable to accept what he had just seen and heard. "This is really happening," the second brother muttered under his breath. The lawyer closed his tablet gently. "I am sorry, gentlemen. This truly was your father's wish." He picked up his briefcase once more and quietly left the mansion. Neither brother said a word to each other. The elder brother turned and walked away angrily toward his room, slamming the door behind him. The second brother followed shortly after, his shoulders slumped, defeated. That night, the family doctor came to check on Fatima, as he did regularly now that her pregnancy was close to full term. Ji-sung happened to be walking down the hallway near her room when he overheard the doctor's voice through the slightly open door. Inside the room, Fatima lay quietly until the doctor finished his visit and stepped out of the room. Once the doctor left, Ji-sung took a deep breath and gently knocked on Fatima's door before stepping inside. "Fatima," he said softly, walking over to sit beside her on the bed. "I'm sorry I've been distant. I know things have been hard for you, and I haven't been there for you the way I should be." Fatima looked up at him, surprised but relieved to hear those words. "It's okay, Ji-sung. I understand you're grieving too." He took her hand gently in his. "No, it's not okay. My father wanted me to take care of you, and I promised him I would. I don't want to hide anymore. I don't want you feeling alone in this." Fatima's eyes softened, tears welling up. "I've missed you," she whispered. "I'm here now," Ji-sung said, pulling her into a gentle hug, careful of her round belly between them. "And I'm not going anywhere." They stayed close together that night, Jisung making sure she was comfortable, bringing her warm tea, and sitting beside her until she fell asleep peacefully for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Jisung woke up early and put on his best shirt. He looked at himself in the mirror, took a deep breath, and grabbed a folder with his old school papers inside. "I need a job," he said quietly to himself. "I need to take care of Fatima and our baby now. I can't depend on this house anymore." He walked downstairs, said a quick goodbye to the houseworkers, and left for a job interview at a company in the city. His heart was nervous, but he felt proud too. For the first time in his life, he was trying to build something on his own. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, the elder brother called Fatima into the sitting room. "Fatima," he said, holding out some money, "go to the market and buy some food for the house. We need supplies." Fatima was surprised he was speaking to her kindly, but she nodded and took the money. "Okay, I'll go now." She walked slowly to the market because of her big belly, picked out vegetables, rice and other food items, and made her way back to the mansion, tired but hopeful. But when she reached the gate, the guards stood in front of her, blocking her way. "I'm sorry, Miss Fatima," one guard said, looking uncomfortable. "We can't let you in." "What? Why not?" Fatima asked, confused. Just then, the elder and second brothers walked out to the gate, their arms crossed, their faces cold. "You don't live here anymore," the elder brother said flatly. "Our father is gone. He gave everything away to strangers. We can't keep feeding and housing you and your child." But this is my home too," Fatima said, her voice shaking. "Your father wanted me here." "He wanted. We don't care what he wanted," the second brother snapped. "He's not here anymore. Take your wayward child and go somewhere else. This isn't your problem to put on us." "Please," Fatima begged, tears streaming down her face, her hands holding the bag of food tightly. "I have nowhere to go. Please, just let me stay until Jisung comes back." But the brothers didn't listen. They turned around and walked back inside, leaving her standing outside the gate, alone and heartbroken. The guards looked at her with pity, but did not open the gate. Slowly, with tears falling down her cheeks, Fatima turned and walked away, her feet heavy, her heart even heavier. At the same time, across the city, Jisung sat nervously in the interview room, answering questions as best he could. But halfway through, the interviewer's face changed, becoming cold and distant. "I'm sorry, Mr. Kang," the interviewer said, closing the folder in front of him. "We've decided not to move forward with your application." "May I ask why?" Jisung asked, confused, since the interview had seemed to be going well. The interviewer hesitated, then spoke carefully. "There have been rumors about your father's passing. Some people believe you and your brothers were involved somehow, or at least did not do enough to help him. It's not good for our company's image to hire someone connected to that kind of story." Jisung's heart sank. He wanted to argue, to explain that none of that was true, but he could see from the man's face that it wouldn't change anything. He nodded quietly, thanked the man for his time, and walked out of the building. Outside, he stood on the street for a moment, feeling defeated. He looked down at the small amount of money still in his wallet, money he had saved from years ago. Instead of feeling sorry for himself, he thought of Fatima. He walked to a nearby flower shop and bought a small bouquet of flowers, then stopped at a little shop and picked out a small gift, wrapping it carefully himself, since he couldn't afford much more. "At least I can make her smile today," he thought, holding the flowers close as he made his way back home. But when he arrived at the mansion and walked through the front doors, he immediately felt something was wrong. The house felt too quiet. "Fatima?" he called out, walking through the halls. "Fatima, I'm home." No answer. He checked her room, empty. He checked the garden, the kitchen, everywhere. His heart began to race with worry. He found his brothers sitting in the living room and rushed toward them. "Where is Fatima? Where did she go?" The elder brother looked up lazily. "We sent her away." "You did what?" Jisung shouted, the flowers falling from his hands onto the floor. "She can't stay here anymore," the second brother said calmly. We can't afford to keep feeding strangers now that everything is gone. She's not a stranger, Jisung yelled, his fists clenched tightly at his sides. She's carrying my child. My child. How could you throw her out? His brothers stared at him, surprised by how furious he had suddenly become. They had never seen him so angry before. Why do you even care so much? The elder brother asked, frowning. It's just some woman father found on the beach. Because I love her, Jisung shouted, his voice breaking. And she is carrying my baby. Now tell me, which way did she go? His brothers looked at each other, unsure, realizing too late how serious this truly was. But Jisung didn't wait for an answer. He ran outside, calling for the guards. Come with me. We need to find her. Now, he shouted, jumping into one of the cars. The guards quickly followed him into their own vehicles, and they drove out into the streets, searching everywhere. The market, the roads, every corner they could think of. Jisung called her name over and over, his heart pounding with fear. But no matter where they looked, Fatima was nowhere to be found. The streets were empty of her, and as the sky grew dark, Jisung's hope began to fade, replaced by a deep, aching fear for the woman he loved and the child she carried. Push, Fatima, push. You're almost there. The woman's voice was warm and encouraging. Fatima gripped the sides of the bed tightly, sweat on her forehead, and with one final push, a small cry filled the room. It's a girl, the woman said, smiling as she wrapped the baby in a soft blanket. A beautiful baby girl. Fatima's tears fell as she held her daughter for the first time, looking at her tiny face. Hello, my love, she whispered. This kind woman had taken Fatima in after the old cook secretly gave Fatima her own sister's address, telling her, go there. She will take care of you. The woman had welcomed Fatima with open arms, helped her through the pregnancy, and stood by her side as she gave birth. Weeks passed. Fatima was determined to build a new life for her daughter, whom she named Ella. One day, while sitting in the woman's small living room, she met a man visiting the house who spoke about investing money wisely. Fatima had a little money saved, so she decided to try it, trusting his advice. 2 days later, her small investment had grown. She reinvested again, and again it grew. Slowly, steadily, her money multiplied. Within months, Fatima had enough to buy a beautiful new house, even bigger and finer than Chairman Kang's old mansion. She bought 3 expensive cars, opened a large boutique, and built a huge supermarket that people came from all over the city to shop at. Fatima had become a very wealthy woman. She never forgot the kindness shown to her. She bought the woman who had taken her in a new house and a car of her own, thanking her again and again for her generosity. Meanwhile, back at the old mansion, things had fallen apart completely. Without their father's money, the elder and second brothers could no longer pay the guards, who eventually packed their bags and left one by one. Only the old cook stayed behind, refusing to abandon the family, even though she received no proper salary anymore. She quietly saved whatever small money she could and sent it to Jisung, who thanked her with tears in his eyes every time, hugging her tightly. The elder and second brothers, desperate for money, came up with a plan. Let's find the house papers, the elder brother said one night. We'll sell the mansion and split the money between us. What about Jisung? The second brother asked. He doesn't need to know, the elder brother said coldly. Jisung had refused to join their scheme, so they decided to leave him out completely. One afternoon, Jisung was walking through a supermarket, tired and thin from months of hard struggle. As he searched his pockets, his pen slipped out and fell to the floor. Before he could bend down, a small voice called out, "Mister, you dropped this." He turned and saw a beautiful 3-year-old Korean girl running toward him, holding out his pen with a big smile. He knelt down and took it gently. "Thank you, little one," he said, shaking her tiny hand. Something about her face made his heart skip. She looked so much like him. Just then, a woman came rushing over, calling the little girl's name. "Ella, Ella, don't run off like..." She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes locking with his. It was Fatima. Jisung, she whispered, her hands flying to her mouth. Fatima, he breathed, tears filling his eyes. She ran to him and threw her arms around his neck, and he lifted her up, spinning her around gently, holding her so tightly, afraid she might disappear again if he let go. I looked everywhere for you, he said, setting her down, his voice breaking. Fatima took Ella's small hand and pulled her closer. Jisung, this is Ella. She's your daughter. Jisung's whole body froze. Slowly, he knelt down and picked Ella up into his arms, kissing her soft cheeks as tears streamed down his face. Thank you, he whispered to Fatima. Thank you for taking such good care of her. I'm the owner of this supermarket, Fatima told him softly, watching his shocked expression. Come, let me show you something. She brought him to her beautiful new home. Jisung stood at the entrance, completely amazed, unable to believe his eyes. Fatima, he said, I need to ask. Please, let's go get the old cook. Take my car. Fatima smiled and drove off, returning soon with the old cook in the passenger seat. The moment the old woman stepped out and saw Fatima's home, she gasped, tears already falling. Fatima, she cried, rushing forward to hug her tightly. You're not going anywhere, Fatima said, holding her close. You're going to live here with us now. You'll be like a mother to me. The old cook wept with joy, then turned to lift little Ella into her arms, admiring her sweet face. Ella giggled and reached for her father again, calling out happily, Appa, Appa. Meanwhile, the elder and second brothers had searched the entire mansion, but could not find the house papers anywhere. Growing desperate, they decided to forge new documents to sell the house illegally, but their plan failed. The authorities discovered the forgery, and police arrived at the mansion to arrest them both. Not long after, Fatima called Jisung, the old cook, and the family lawyer together. She sat them down and finally revealed the full truth. Chairman Kang never gave his fortune to an orphanage, she said gently. He gave everything to Jisung. He asked me to hold it safely for a while, because he knew his older sons would fight for it and try to take it from him. The lawyer has known the truth this whole time. The lawyer nodded, confirming everything, and formally transferred the entire fortune, the businesses, the properties, all of it, into Jisung's name. Jisung sat in stunned silence, overwhelmed with gratitude. He thanked the lawyer, hugged the old cook tightly, and turned to Fatima, taking her face gently in his hands before kissing her softly. Thank you for protecting everything my father built, he whispered, and for protecting our daughter, and for loving me, even when I didn't deserve it. With his fortune restored, Jisung quickly became a successful and respected businessman, just as his father had always hoped. Not long after, he got down on one knee and proposed to Fatima, who happily said yes. Their wedding was grand and beautiful, filled with flowers, laughter, and joy, with the old cook watching proudly from the front row. Sometime later, Fatima became pregnant again, and she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Little Ella leaned over his cradle and gently kissed her baby brother's forehead, giggling with delight. And from that day on, Fatima, Jisung, Ella, their baby boy, and the old cook lived together as one happy family, and they lived happily ever after.